Today, the topic would be AI application architecture building for scale and efficiency. So when we say building for scale efficiency, the key questions I ask is what is scale and what is efficiency, right? So when you say scale, is it about saying that I can process from 10 transactions to 100 transactions per day or per hour? Or is it about saying that OpenAI, if you look at it, it gives you an availability of 3 nines. Is it acceptable to your business? Should I move from 3 nines to 5 nines as part of my solution? Even if I'm adopting OpenAI, can I achieve it, right? And then when you're working on an enterprise, you're talking about building applications across multiple business segments, multiple business lines and all that stuff. Is the scale about building and introducing AI into all these segments? So what does the scale mean to you? For me, it's everything, right? So you should be able to adopt AI and democratize AI for developing across the scales. I need to give my clients the availability of 5 nines, even if some of the providers are not able to provide me. I need to find some innovative ways of doing that. And when it comes to efficiency, right? How efficiently I'm doing it? Is it cost effective? Am I, because I'm adopting something that is very new, am I spending more cost than that is required? What is the value that I am going to bring in? So all of these aspects make it very important for an architecture to help us in terms of help the architecture to help the businesses in terms of adopting and then rolling out various solutions. So today's solution, so before I get on to the actual architecture and what we did and how we did it, just to give the background, right? All of us know, like 2022, when ChatGPT was announced, it was revolutionized everything. But also immediately there were a lot of concerns that were raised around the security concerns, around the data, what is going to happen and all that stuff. So how do you do as a business and how do you react? So that was an opportunity for us to review in terms of how we want to proceed it. And that's where we said we will take what we call it as a platform-based approach towards building our solutions and architecture, which can help us roll out these solutions, the AI solutions to the market, as well as democratize within the organization for various needs, right? Now, when I'm talking about some of these things, right, there were other factors also, like when you talk about AI, right, or when you're talking about LLMs or ChatGPT or any other thing, how technically you should know about some of those to implement a solution. The knowledge that is required to adopt and use this was, as long as I know how to invoke an API, I'm an AI expert, right? Because the whole power of AI and everything is handled by the LLM. You're no more worried about the intricacies of all the calculations, mathematics and everything that was involved in terms of building AI solutions. So there was faster adoption of AI. And then ultimately you are ending up into the FOMO mode. Am I missing out something, right? And there were a lot of open source and other things that were happening, a lot of new things that were evolving around this ecosystem. So the pace at which you see the things were changing around the AI was also very fast. So one side you have concerns, and the other side you have the lot of things that were happening within the market and the industry, which says that you cannot stay behind and then keep quiet. You have to do something, right? And in addition to that, in the area that we operate, fintech, right? Financial industry or the health industry or some of these industries, you see a lot of regulations, right? And what do they mean? So every regulation expects you to do certain way. Every government says that act ethically, responsibly, and all these kinds of things. Now, are these barriers or are these the elements that can help you in terms of moving fast, right? If you don't do things right, these will become barriers. So there was a need to do some of these things right? So there were a lot of concerns from legal regulations, ethical, and how you are implementing the solution and all that stuff. So you have to apply a lot of thought process before you can make a step forward. So all of these were important. Now, is that sufficient enough or do we need more? Now you started seeing country-specific regulations, market-specific regulations coming out into the market, right? This is the regulation I'm throwing you. Singapore has a regulation. Australia has a regulation. US has a regulation. What do I do now? Should I keep pace with all of them or should I ignore, right? You cannot ignore if you are saying that I'm a fintech country which operates in a global market, right? You need to understand all of these things. So these were some of the barriers that were coming you in between, but at the same time, the speed at the evolution and the options that are available to you was the need of the hour, right? And that's where we spent a lot of time in terms of deliberating in terms of how do we approach this problem statement and how do we solve this. And we felt the platform-based approach would be the right thing. And I think this is the second or third time I'm using the platform. What do we mean by the platform, right? So before I talk about the platform, let me just define the personas and the problem statement, right? Who uses AI? Or what is our AI strategy? I think every company now you say AI is everywhere, right? We also want to do AI is everywhere. So who are the key participants that we are talking about when we are talking about AI? One is your end customers who are using your products, businesses and all that stuff. They also want to use AI. They also want to get benefited. So we need to provide them the solution which are powered by AI. That's the segment that you'll see on the bottom. And the internal associates, developers, testers, BP operations, HR, finance, everybody you talk about the support groups, they also want AI. Now, how do you prioritize which one is first, which one is second, right? So the needs are evolving, very vast. There were concerns. So, but you need to cater to multiple areas at all that segment. That is where we said we will build what we call it as a common AI platform that will address all these concerns. So the AI platform, we built what a tool called as a broad GPT, which is centered around all the internal users, internal use cases, internal associates and all that stuff. And we built what we call it as secure services, which can interact with all the AI tools and solutions that are there on the right side that you see on the top, which can help you in terms of democratization and then saying that you can go ahead and do AI. We will take care of some of the concerns that we talked about as part of the platform. So that's the approach that we have picked up. So these secure AI services helped us in terms of ensuring that we can do this. Now, it's easy, right? This diagram looks very easy to do, and then it's very simple to do and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's pretty easy, but if I expand that into some next level, right? There were a lot of services that were involved in terms of doing, right? When I talk about regulations, right? How am I handling data? How am I handling security? What is that about the monitoring? What are the things that I'm doing? So this you will typically see in all the products. But few things that I want to point out is if you look at our AI architecture, you will see something called AI models or libraries that is there over here, which can help us in terms of building. When I'm still building an AI platform, can I do the work, use the work that has already been done to augment my architecture? We'll cover some bits of that during the session. And then the various other aspects, right? Now with all these being done, right, let's get into the next segment of interacting with LLMs. Now when you start talking about interacting with LLM, right, when you interact with every LLM, right, every LLM has its own format, syntax, semantics, definitions, whatever you call, right? Now, when I'm saying I'm building a central AI platform and I'm saying that I'm going to make it available to all businesses, is this a good thing to have or a bad thing to have? Obviously, there is no standard way of saying that this is how the LLM should operate. And today you hear that OpenAI GPT-3 was very strong model in November 2022. What is the strongest model today?
4.
Llama 4, anything else? Claude. There are a lot of models that are coming in. Mistral, wow, that's good. Mistral. The models that come, evolve, and then they do, you'll see everything that is coming in. So how prepared you are if you're saying that there is some good model that is coming in tomorrow and you want to handle that, right? And the second thing that to be asked is, today something is good, OpenAI is very good or Llama is very good. Can it stay good tomorrow? We don't know. This is an evolving field, right? So what is going to be the next disruptor, you know? You don't know. So the responsibility of the platform was twofold. One, to ensure that you stop all the business applications, worry about some of these intricacies. And you said, don't worry, we will take care of it, you do it. And as a platform team, you take care of all those problems and you come up with a common solution that can address them, right? In simple words, or to simplify it very drastically and then say, right, what we built is we built what we call it as a layer of abstraction on top of all these models, right? What does layer of abstraction do is, if you see, I don't know whether it is very visible, but if you can see, the first one talks about interacting with Claude. Here you see BR Claude, then you will see GPT 3.5, and the last model is like interacting with Llama 2. But if you see the payload, it's the same. So what we have done is with the layer of abstraction, irrespective of the model that you are using, you can connect to us and we will take care of doing all the things that are there. Like as part of the architecture, I have my translation services, I have my security services, I have my mapping services. I'll take care of everything. So when I say I take care of everything, it includes your hyperparameters, some of the other things that you want to do with tuning and various other stuff. The platform take is, you don't worry, you assume that you are coding with any model, you just code it, and tomorrow something comes in, you don't need to do any changes at your business application end. So this layer of abstraction gives the security to the businesses in terms of adapting it faster. And if one model doesn't work for me, I can switch to another model and experiment faster, and then fail fast, and then move on to the next. So it both helped us in terms of doing more experiments and rolling out some solutions into production. We already have 8 solutions in production with related to LLMs, and there are a lot more at various stages where we have seen all the results and other stuff, right? And on the top, you'll see a diagram which says in terms of there is a pre-processed prompt, and then you'll see the post-processed LLM output. Now, when you talk about pre-processes or post-processes, right, these help you in terms of ensuring that you can build the required security guardrails and the controls that are required at various layers. Now, are there common concerns or specific concerns? If it is a common concern, it is taken care by the platform. So the load on the underlying businesses are gone. So they don't need to worry about some of those things. So most of these regulations, the common concerns we talk about are taken care by the platform itself, right? So that's what it is. So what are the benefits of the platform? It's simply, right, I can switch from one LLM to other LLM with ease. I don't need to worry about various aspects of trying to experiment and try with multiple stuff. I can build prompt for least powerful LLM, right? I showed you Claude, Llama 2 and OpenAI. GPT-3, I know which is the least powerful prompt in that. And then I can safely say that when I upgrade it to the next level prompt, right? There is a 90% chance it will work. We did a lot of experiments and that's the number, 90% comes from where. So why is it important for me? So I talked about the availability part, right? My LLM provider is saying that I can give you 3 nines availability, but my fintech consumers want 5 9 availability. So how do I switch and ensure that bridge that gap? So I can explain to my clients in terms of saving in eventuality of an OpenAI going down or Claude going down. Have an option to switch you from model A to model B. You'll continue to do your business, and then when that model is back again, you can come back. The layers and abstractions that we have built help us in terms of switching from one to other seamlessly, but the underlying prompts have to be tested from both the things. So is there an automation that I can do to do that and justify that, yes, this is possible? So those are the things that the platform can take care. And now the next one, right, NLP to multi-language support. Most of my products currently support only in English, but we cater to global markets. Now, with this, can I increase the capability of my models or the products to do service in other languages? Potential is there. We have done some POCs, and it's easy to enhance the capability of your product to support additional languages and other stuff with lesser investment than what is required to support those languages. A lot of cost optimization that can be done. That is where some of the efficiencies come in, right? Because on the model, right, on the platform, if I'm auditing and storing all the requests and responses, do I need to, if I'm getting a similar request next time, should I go and hit the model again and get the response, or can I reuse the response that I generated earlier? And what is the threshold that I can define for that particular business segment? For example, I'm not dealing with the stock price, but I'm dealing with a question that is generally asked like an FAQ. Can I safely say that within next one day, if the same question is asked multiple times, I can give the same answer? Yes, the FAQs don't change. But if it is a stock price, can I say I can give the same answer? The answer is no. So how can you ensure that you can build the context or classify your question into the category and then give those answers? Can that be baked into the platform to save you the cost of reaching out and then getting the answer again from the LLM, right? So these are some of the things that can help you in terms of building the efficiencies within your businesses and then do that, right? And the regulations and policies I've already talked about, okay? Now this is all good, right? I've built a layer of extra abstraction, I'm getting all the benefits, I'm saving the money to the company and all that stuff. But am I satisfied, or I have covered everything? No, right? The first thing is, you're talking about multiple LLMs. How many LLMs are there currently in the market? Anyone? Huge number, right? Now, how do you pick up which are the ones that you want to select and say, these are the ones that I want to support in my platform? So you need to have a strong assessment criteria for you to help in terms of which are the LLMs that can help me in terms of solving my business problem, help me in terms of my longevity, and help me in terms of doing things. So the various parameters that can be used is, first one is how general this LLM is. I have a specific problem, can I use it? I'm using an LLM, but the license in which that LLM is provided doesn't allow me to commercialize the solutions, right? Can I fine tune using this LLM? What is the inference time that is involved when I'm using this LLM? Now, when I'm building a real-time application and the inference time of the LLM says that this is 1.5 minutes, can I use it for real-time applications? Definitely no. So, and then also in terms of the context size, the complexity of deploying and maintaining the model, and then obviously the popularity and few other things. So there are a lot of parameters that go into in terms of choosing which is the model that you want to use and which LLM model you have to use. So those are some of the things that we have listed down there. We have a checklist of items. We go through that governance process and we say, this is the one that I think is going to help us. And then we start with that, right? Excellent. Now I have LLMs. I have my platform. Everything is ready. Is that good enough for the products? I know some of the products folks are here. The answer is no. The next thing is, how do I solve my business problem? What are the common business patterns that are available? Can I build a library of these business patterns and give examples to the platform? So when you talk about, I have listed down 3 of the business patterns here, right? Prompt engineering, that's what everybody does with LLMs, right? Is prompt engineering good enough to solve this business problem? If I'm using prompt engineering, what LLM models is suitable for me? And for what type of use cases I can use this prompt engineering based approaches? Do you have that understanding, and then have you disseminated that knowledge within the organization, right? That's the next thing, right? Similarly, fine tuning. When do I do fine tuning, right? I have a huge enumeration and people ask a lot of questions around that enumeration. Can I do fine tuning? And if I do fine tuning on a particular model, how long can I retain that particular fine tuned model? When does it change? When do I upgrade from one version to other? What is the cost of fine tuning again on an LLM, right? What are the guidelines around those things? So those are the important factors that can help you in terms of assessing and deciding in terms of whether you want to do fine tuning or not, and also the type of the task that you want to do, right? I'm generally asking some general questions, but I have an enumeration, I still want to fine tune. The answer is no. I don't want to do that, because you're still asking general questions, not specific questions. And if you're saying my business case is limited to specific questions, specific business area, these are the areas in which I want to operate, this is the limited knowledge on which I want to operate, fine tune the model and then use it, right? The last one is the RAG. So I have a lot of internal knowledge base. Can I use that to do that? But it's a sensitive information. I don't want to expose to any AI completely. So can I use a RAG-based implementation? So these are various patterns like NLP to SQL, AI agents, various other things that can come into this picture. Can you implement some of these solutions and make it available to the various people? That's the thing, right? Now that's the LLM segment, right? That's only one area. Now the question I asked before I talk about MLOps is, when you talk about Gen AI, AI and all that stuff, I'm sure you would have attended a lot of AI sessions in the last 3-4 days also. Is the predictive AI or traditional AI dying, or is it still available? Do you think it's going to continue? How many of you believe that the predictive AI still continues? No one. Depends on the product, yes, but I think that's going to continue, and then that is going to drive some of the LLMs and all that stuff. Now, when we are talking about implementing at scale and efficiency, right? What is that you are doing for in the predictive AI area, right? Yes, you have covered, you built a layer of abstraction, you did blah, blah stuff related with LLM, but what is that you are doing related with predictive AI? That's where the MLOps area is what is important to us. So when you talk about MLOps and predictive AI, right? There is a lot of activity that goes on when building AI solutions, from training, dividing the data, breaking the data. And then when you look at engineering aspects, right, you'll see a lot of complex activities that are going on. Now, if I simplify this, right, in simple words, you're working on data preparation, you're working on training and tuning, and you're working on deploying and management, right? That's what this thing is. Now, how can I standardize this exercise across the organization and then say, don't worry, I'll take care of you, right? So what are the key challenges that you face when you talk about predictive AI? The key aspects that you're looking for is, so when I'm working with multiple models, doing experiments, measuring the velocity or the confusion matrix and tuning it, is there a need to maintain versioning of that particular models and then say, this is the version that is most suitable for me? And does it help me in terms of upgrades, rollbacks, and all that kind of stuff, right? Is there a need for frequent retraining and revalidation of the model with the data changing? What is the frequency and all that kind of stuff? Now, how do I identify if there is a data drift or a model drift? When we talk about data drift, it's basically I trained the model with certain data characteristics, but the new data that is now coming from the business is completely different from what I've trained. So how do I identify or intercept that incident and then relook at my training and then redeploying the model? The model was performing at 98 efficiency in the beginning, but slowly it started drifting and it came down to 70% efficiency. So is there a way for me to intercept and then say this is an event that I need to capture and handle it? So that's all around some of the things. So when you talk about traditional deployment of various software solutions and all that stuff, we talk about DevOps, CI/CD and all that stuff. And can the same thing be done for your ML algorithms or ML solutions? That's the MLOps for you. And if you can see, there is a standard way of, can I do standard pipelines which can deploy these models? Can I do a standard way of training it? Can I do a standard way of monitoring it? And the various metrics can I capture and then report it on the dashboard for the SREs to monitor even the ML related algorithms and activity? They may not take the decisions, but they can trigger the decisions and then point it out to data engineers or the data scientists to take the actions, right? So these are the various things can I do to standardize and make it available to the businesses so that they don't need to worry about some of these deployment aspects. They do the development, create the artifacts in the standard way, and say you can go ahead and deploy and then give me all this functionality. Fast tracks your ML adoption, reduces cost and increases the efficiency. Okay? So these are some of the things. And then how can you do this continuous model monitoring? Now for each steps you can, like when you are doing training, right? You can generate some baselines, and those baselines are used to monitor things. So from training till deployment, you'll continue to generate various performance metrics or the benchmarks. And what are those metrics that you are using at various stages? Like if you can look at it, right? Initially you deploy and train the model where you are capturing the training data, you have done something. Then you generate the baseline constraints. Then you monitor and detect the data drift and take the actions. Then you deploy it into production. And when it is inferring, for every inference, right, you're capturing the data and then checking whether there is a drift in the model and all that kind of stuff. So have I built this entire pipeline and then made it standardized for everyone, right? That's the MLOps for you, right? Now, excellent, I have an MLOps and all that stuff, right? Is everything still good? No. Do I have access to production data? How many of you worked on predictive AI? Anyone here? Okay. Do you have access to production data? Now, how do you build models? So there are two ways of working with this, right? One, you can say that I have access to the production data, I can do it. Or I don't have access to production data, but I still need to do the models and take the models to production, right? So first one talks about train the model in each environment. So this is the approach you take when you say I don't have access to production data, but I know the characteristics. Based on that, I build some model. You tune that, test it, move from one environment to other environment and deploy it in production, monitor it, and then continue to work on it. Second thing is, you know you can bring the data from production to dev, either through obfuscation or through some other means. So can I directly do it in dev and move it to production? The approaches are different, but some of the things that we talked about in terms of what we have talked about here remains the same. So does your pipelines allow you to do both those options is what the MLOps is, right? Now the last segment I am covering is, the last segment which we will be covering is AI augmenting AI. I know this is not the right terminology or right word. So when you talk about generative AI and predictive AI, should we see it as an exclusive lens in terms of saying something that I do on generative AI cannot be looked from the predictive AI lens, or something that I'm doing in predictive AI cannot be looked at generative AI lens? Or can I combine the best of both the worlds and then give a solution out, right? So So for me, right, when I talk to the businesses and individuals, right, and when they come up with a business problem and then they come to me and then they ask me, and then when I understand that business problem, right, I know the core area or the primary area where they are talking about is an generative AI space, or core area where they are talking about is a predictive AI space. But is there a module or a segment or some area where I can introduce the other one? Right, it's possibility. Right, those are some of the use cases I just wanted to talk about. For example, when I'm building a bot or a chat bot based on generative AI, right, and you're talking about security features, PII validation, name entity recognition, and few of the other elements, right? Or when I'm doing my testing, synthetic data generation and other stuff, can I use the predictive AI algorithms to augment my final LLM solution? That's where even if you look at my architecture, I had an AI models as part of overall architecture where it can do some work for me, right? The simple thing is when I'm, as part of my pre-processor, right, I'm asking these details, can you give me details about Chinni, Krishna with identifier, blah, blah stuff, right? Immediately I know you're dealing with some PII data. So should I intercept and then warn the user in terms of saying you're dealing with PII data? Now how am I able to identify that PII data? I'm not using any LLM or generative AI, right? I'm still using predictive algorithms which were available and which can help you do this work. So the predictive algorithm helped me in terms of ensuring that I can enhance my overall Gen AI solution, right? So that's the augmentation that you're talking about. Even though I'm building a Gen AI solution, I've augmented with the predictive AI capabilities and all that stuff. And the second use case is something like this, right? I have a lot of data. I've done some unsupervised learning. I know I've got some clusters. Now, how do you explain what these clusters are to the business segment? Can I use Gen AI to generate summaries based on that cluster statistics and then explain to the business? Is it possible? Right, it's possible. If I can extract those statistics and give that to the LLM, give me a summary based on this business domain context and all that stuff, it can definitely give you the summary that can help you talk to the business better. Can I use that capability? So here, if you see, I started with a predictive AI problem, then I used Gen AI, and now I got these summaries. Now I am saying, let's assume this is a profile of a bank, customers. Now I did clustering and then I made the customers into various clusters. And then for that customers, I'm providing another set of solution, right? Now, can I come up with the prompts or areas which are personalized to that persona? So can I create personas based on the clusters that I've created and augment my LLM solution, right? So if you can look at these capabilities, right, it's unlimited. So you can augment one with other and do it. The final use case that I want to talk about is the survey questions. I think all of you write the surveys, right? And most of the surveys end in the end with a question, what are the other thoughts? Have you filled text in that? No? What are the top 3 things, what you like, general text comments in your surveys? You have never done that? Only if it is mandatory, okay. But as a data scientist or the data analyst, right? They gave you data of that 1 million customers who entered that data and asked you to analyze that. How do you go about doing it? Right? Again, a combination of LLM and predictive AI can help you solve that problem. Now I give the text, each of those texts to LLM and ask it to classify into 1 or 2 words. Cluster that. Take out those clusters, explain those clusters, you are done. So that's the other use case. I thought that would be easier for it to understand. That's the reason I said survey questions. So net, it's like one AI based algorithm can help you in terms of doing the other thing. So look for these solutions, see how you can bring in AI as a combination, individual and all that stuff, which can make the solutions much better and then build it. And this is all I had in terms of the scale and then what I wanted to do today. Thank you all. Thank you for listening to me.